Well, Doc, as we take it over after a great qualifying session for Sunday's Sprint Cup action, we're getting ready for the final practice here at Kansas on the 1.5 mile. Of course, last week at Dover, it was a tale of two races. It started looking like it would be the Kyle Busch show, but it finished with the number 29 of Clint Bowyer taking home the win.
The Monster Mile, one of the toughest of the season on the drivers.
This is the best battle that Kyle's been faced with all day long. And here goes the lead.
Trouble in turn number 2.
Come on. Soften down. That's his fault. What happened, Curtis? The 88 just turned us. 10 laps steady. Can you limp around? No way. The steering broke.
Brad and Denny seem to have that irritation factor.
He had a choice. He could have gave me a lane and finished 4th or 5th or whatever it was, but he tried to take advantage of me.
I was just sitting in the motorhome when y'all came up listening to that idiot talk. He has no idea how to race.
By the way, Clint Bowyer won the race.
Good job, guys. Man, good job. Proud of you.
And of course, Brad Keselowski getting out of one car, getting ready to get into his nationwide ride, and of course making a bit of a statement last week. Let's take a look at the championship points, because it is Kyle Busch still well in command over Carl Edwards by 211, almost 300 markers back. You find Brad Keselowski, and remember, the top 5 make it to the podium, and keep an eye on that 5th place battle between Stephen Wallace and Justin Allgaier. Let's check in at pit lane, and Jamie Little is up first.
Well, Marty, there's a couple guys in this nationwide field that have a little extra incentive to take home the win this weekend. Of course, Clint Bowyer and Carl Edwards in the 60 car. Neither driver has won here in nationwide or cup. It's kind of like the battle of state lines. One is from Missouri, of course, that being Carl Edwards, and Emporia, Kansas is where Clint Bowyer is from. Now, both drivers have had equal success. Both have won 2 of their last 4 races. Of course, Clint Bowyer winning last weekend in Dover. Now, this is the final practice, last time to shake down these cars and get them up to speed. But the 29s had an eventful day, and for more, let's go to Shannon Spade.
That's right, Jamie. Speaking of that win last week at Dover, the 29 team worked very hard to get that winning car turned around to bring here to Kansas. Unfortunately, that car will not be racing tomorrow night. In first practice, Clint Bowyer put it in the wall between turns 1 and 2. I spoke with Clint Bowyer. He said that he thinks it's a combination of the car being a little bit loose as well as the wind. They have gone to a backup car. The good news, according to NASCAR, they will not have to go to the back of the field because the wreck happened before qualifying. The bad news, this is not one of the team's newer cars. It has not seen action since ORP, so this team's got their work cut out for them today.
Let's take you back and showed you what happened in that first practice session, guys. And nobody really knows whether it was the wind or it just stepped out on him.
Yeah, Clint actually doesn't know exactly what happened. He said everything, he'd been around there for a few laps, everything felt fine, and then all of a sudden it just broke loose.
Well, the thing is, if you got a car that's borderline loose and you've got a gust of wind or the lack thereof, it can cause you to lose control of the car like this, because these guys run them so close to the ragged edge.
And you can see
in the back of that one.
Yeah, took care of the onboard camera out the rear too.
We'll send him a bill for that.
Second quick on the charts right now. There is Clint Bowyer out in the backup car. They were able to move the motor over, so he will not have to start at the back. As the 32 of Brian Vickers in the $32 General Toyota, second fastest right now, 32.16 his quick lap. His last lap, 32.4.
Yeah, these are the type tracks that we've seen Brian Vickers and this race team be very good at this year. They seem to have a good package, handling and power-wise. Brian enjoys running these 1.5 miles.
Yeah, it doesn't seem to matter whether it's in the Cup Series or the Nationwide Series. He's fast on these type tracks, and he's fast today. Second fastest, like you said.
One thing, guys, between practices, I was able to get down in the garage area and talking to a couple of teams. They changed the gear ratio, which has actually slowed these cars down even a little bit further. Whoa! And Kevin Harvick, puff of smoke. Let's take a look at just a moment ago on what happened.
Coming out of turn 4, looks like maybe he got a little bit loose here. See him getting those seams. Yeah, just trying to keep it out of the wall.
Just a little.
Right rear touched it.
Let's go on board.
Yeah, it looks like plenty of room coming up out of this corner, but these guys, as Andy was saying, they run these things so free to carry speed that it just takes a little bit of a slip. and that's the result of it. Then you get into the wall.
I think I just got the right rear a little
See the
bit there, Ernie.
statistic on 2006, and you can hear him on the radio talking about the right rear, just tagging it just a touch. And there it is. Very little damage.
Yeah, he got out lucky there. That's not much damage at all.
We'll get back to this issue about the gear ratios, because the guys have talked about how it has slowed the cars down this year, and they're well off the track record by almost 2 seconds. Here's what's going to happen. We've got happy hour at Kansas tomorrow, 6:30 Eastern on ESPN2, and then Sprint Cup Series action at 1 Eastern over on ABC on Sunday. NASCAR Nationwide Series at 3 Eastern tomorrow here on ESPN2, and then the O'Reilly NHRA Mid-South Nationals. This is race number 3 in the countdown to the championship, qualifying 10:30 Eastern tomorrow night at ESPN2, and the finals 7 Eastern Sunday evening, also on ESPN2. And then NASCAR Now, just remember, 10 a.m. Sunday morning on ESPN2. Back with more Final Practice right after this.
NASCAR Nationwide Series Final Practice is brought to you by Copart.com, an online auto auction where you control the price you pay. Go to Copart.com today. And Nationwide Insurance, official auto insurance partner of NASCAR.
Final practice continues here at the 1.5 miles of Kansas, and you can see the work already back in the garage area on the 33. And you're saying, wait a minute, he tagged the right side on the wall and they're working on the left.
Well, what happened is the bumper got shoved over, the reinforcement behind this rear skin you see. It got shoved over, so they're going to cut that end of it off so they can move the rest of the sheet metal over. Not a big deal, really, as long as they get the sheet metal in the right spot.
But they want it back over there for that side force.
Well, that is a big deal. As long as they can get that right rear corner back flat, it's very important for side force and the way these cars handle. Like we've kind of talked about even on the Cup side, they try everything they can to move that rear panels as far to the right as NASCAR will allow you.
While that work continues, checking on Brad Keselowski. He is in the number 3 spot right now, and that's about where he was during the first practice as well. You can see that he's done very well against Kyle in 4 of the last 6 races. In fact, he's outscored Kyle in that stretch, but still finds himself just under 300 points behind.
Yeah, he's going to keep outscoring Kyle and Carl if he's going to have a shot at this championship. And it's time's running out for this team and the championship.
With 7 races to go, realistically, Kyle's got to start having some major issues. I mean, finishes in 25th or worse.
Yeah, he would actually have to have probably 2 DNFs of maybe 35th or worse to give these guys a real shot at it. But you go out there, you try to win races and make the most of it. And if something should happen, then you're there to take advantage of it.
Well, to give you an idea, the largest margin ever overcome with 7 races to go without any penalties 20 years ago in 1989. When Rob Moroso was 4th behind Tommy Houston by 114 points. He ended up winning by 55, but right now he's in the driver's seat right there, and we're talking about Kyle Busch.
And Brad Keselowski's on a long run right now. He's 3rd on the board. He got out of the car in the first practice, guys. He said this is the best car he's ever had. He said it is scary fast. So right now, they're out there just running this car. They said they have not changed one thing. They unloaded, and the car has been perfect.
Thanks for the update, Jamie. And he should be very happy after the way he ran in Cup qualifying and the way he's running here.
Pretty good day for the young man so far. And watching the times, his car's really not slowing down, and that's what, as a driver, you really like to see. You can put up a good number. He's up in the 3rd spot as far as his fast lap, but then the car keeps performing lap after lap.
Team car with Scott Wimmer behind the wheel for the final time in this number 5 car, as he too trying to impress people for a job next year.
I'm sure that he looks at this as a great opportunity to do just that, because just like I said, teammate with that 88 team and Brad Keselowski, they've run so well this year, and this car here is very fast, so he'll have a good chance at it.
Well, he's 6th in the first practice session.
Yeah, he's about 14th or 15th right now in this session.
Fourth quick. Let me correct myself on Wimmer. He was 24th. I was looking at the wrong car number. But Carl Edwards also out on the track right now at 4th fastest, and he's only run 3 laps, 32.26. His quickest. There he is.
Pretty pink paint scheme this week.
Seen a lot of pink this year in all forms of motorsports. We had, of course, Alex Lloyd. He got the nickname Pink Lloyd at the Indy 500. His car was all pink.
Carl and his sponsor, this is, we're into October now, and Breast Cancer Awareness Month. And Carl and Save a Lot are making good donations to help fund the different organizations that are trying to find a cure for breast cancer. So great to see this happening and these sponsors getting involved and the drivers involved.
Of course, it was the legendary Shirley Muldowney who made pink popular, 3-time Top Fuel champion in NHRA competition.
Made it fast, too.
Yes, she was good, wasn't she? How about Greg Biffle in the 16 car? He is running 5th right now. Shannon, I think you've got more.
Well, Greg Biffle, great in both practices, top 10 in both practices today. I just spoke with the team. They said when they pulled it in here into the garage moments ago, the only thing they changed was a little bit of camber. They're very happy with the car. They're just tweaking on it right now, trying to get that last little bit of speed. Greg Biffle certainly has an advantage over some of these guys here today. He has run in all 8 races here at Kansas in the Nationwide Series. And guys, in 7 of those, he has top 10 finishes.
Yeah, and Shannon, they're trying a little different setup this week. Talked to Greg this morning. He said he just feels like they're off a little bit with this Nationwide car, and they want to try some different things. You hear about people sitting on the right front spring versus left front spring. They cold bind these cars, unlike the Cup cars where they run on bump stops. So it's a little trickier setup, and they've been running one way and seem to be getting beat by cars doing it the other way. So they're going to try it this week and try to stick with it.
You heard Shannon talk about how well he's done here, 7 out of 8 times in the top 10. In fact, last year was his worst finish. He finished 18th. But he has also led at least 1 lap in 7 of those 8 races. So, yeah, he knows this place.
Andy, that change you were talking about, it's not as easy as just switching from one side to the other. There's a lot that goes into that.
Yeah, when you're doing that, you've got to change the entire setup. I mean, it really does change all 4 springs, and it changes the way you run your track bar, your camber settings, a lot of things it changes. So it's not an easy thing just to switch back and forth.
And here's this week's guest appearance in the number 1 car, Dave Gilliland. If you haven't been following the series, the reason we poke a little fun at that is because there have been numerous drivers in this since Mike Bliss was let go. Let's go on a lap around this 1.5 miles, DJ.
Yeah, we're going down the back straightaway here. This is a 1.5 mile track, pretty long. Not a lot of banking to lean on as you go in here. You have to drive these cars really hard, but you have to be careful not to get too deep in the corner. Back to the throttle really early. Here's where you can run into problems because the track starts to flatten out. The car really wants to push most of the time off of that corner. A little bit of a tri-oval here as we're back to the start-finish line. Fastest part of the racetrack here, down into turn 1. A few bumps down there on the inside that you have to dodge.
Yeah, we see this track looks a lot like Chicago, and the banking is one of the differences. But right here is another difference, Dale. This straightaway looks straight, and when you look at Chicago, it's got a kind of a bend in it.
Yeah, it is. This is more of a straightaway, where Chicago is hard to call it the back straightaway. You have to call it the back stretch because it's really not straight, but this does go straight down.
Well, you can see that David has decided to bring it on in, and he is 13th on the speed charts right now. Greg Biffle's back in the garage as well, but we're far from finished. Stay with us. Jimmy Johnson made a serious statement with his victory at Dover, and he keeps his sights set on the points leader, who happens to be our pole sitter for Sunday's race, Mark Martin. Well, Jimmy won Kansas last season, took the championship lead from Carl Edwards. Can he do it again? Find out. The NASCAR Sprint Cup chase continues at Kansas. Coverage begins Sunday at 1 Eastern on ABC. Let's check top 10 in the practice speeds here in our final practice before tomorrow's qualifying and race. And you can see Kyle Busch has turned all of 1 lap. Says, hey, fellas, I like it. We'll just put it in for a while. And it has held up Brian Vickers, Brad Keselowski, all the way down to Justin Allgaier, who is fighting for that all-important 5th and last spot on the stage at the end of the season in Miami when we go to Homestead. And he's in that duel with the 66 of Stephen Wallace.
Yeah, Stephen Wallace having a great season so far, and he is battling for that on-stage appearance at the end of the season.
You mentioned Brad being in the 3rd position. There he is, back in the garage area, debriefing. You know, let's go back to last week. I loved the fact that, you know, as always in these situations, his incident with Denny Hamlin, there's always 2 sides. And his point obviously was, hey, I am not going to let anybody push me around.
No, but he really wasn't being pushed around. He just was being cut off a little bit. And you have to respect that that guy's in front of you, and he has that position right then. And if you're up beside, that's one thing. Catching him where he did, that's a little questionable. So you're going to get the dander up on somebody whenever you hit him like that. But he's ready to stand his ground. He doesn't mind the criticism. So that's the way that he's going to race.
Yeah, and we'll wait and see what happens when the tables get turned and it's him that gets punched in the quarter
right.
pin.
Yeah, as long as you can handle that part of it, there's nothing wrong with it.
Well, there are the 62 and the 10. That's Brendan Gaughan in the 62, and obviously the 10 has decided not to take the camera time. Mr. Sorensen's heading for the garage area. He doesn't have ESPN inside the cockpit, obviously.
Andy, tomorrow's supposed to be a little hotter. Would you be a little careful what you're seeing and doing right now with your race car with the cooler temperature?
Well, you certainly take it into consideration. The only thing is, this is all the practice you have. You have to do what you can. You really still have to balance your car, no matter what the track conditions are. You have to get it balanced, and then you got to track the weather. You look at the track temp. You look at all the information that you have, and then you make good decisions based on that. But you first have to get your car balanced to know just how far to take it and how much you need to change it for the track conditions.
Brian Scott, the Craftsman or Camping World Truck third place finisher at Kansas, back here in April. Been running that series all season long, in the 11 this week. This is another car that we've seen a lot of different drivers in lately.
Yeah, that's a good thing. A lot of these young guys are getting opportunities to drive some of these cars, and Brian Scott was fast. He was second quickest in the first practice session, and he's doing a good job here. He's 14th in this one.
Mike Bliss gave it a whale of a ride last week.
There's the list. Sky Lagasse had 21 starts and then got relieved, and since then Mike Bliss has given it its best ride, and that was last weekend at Dover, coming home in second position.
Yeah, some of those finishes don't really show how well they ran. They got caught up in some accidents and things, so this team's performed really well.
Well, Brian is fourth in the truck points right now. He has a win at Dover and 12 top 10s, so we'll see how he does. And we've caught up with Brad Keselowski. Jamie?
Well, he's third on the board now, and already he is finished early. So the team said no changes. This car has been that good. What exactly feels like a great car?
It just reacts to what I want it to do, and it drives good. It's a little free, but you know, that's what they pay me for, to drive that. So really great 88 Delphi Chevrolet from Junior Motorsports. This is the same car I won with Michigan. And I feel like we can be a contender tomorrow. So I hate to keep adjusting on it because the weather's cooling off and the wind's really, picking up. So we don't want to adjust out of the track, but it's just so awesome. I'm just really proud of everyone on this team.
And you qualified third on the other side. You're dealing with this double duty stuff pretty well. Brad, a preview of what we'll see next year.
Well, Kansas hasn't traditionally been one of my better racetracks. I saw some stats. I got like an average finish of 28th here. So. I don't know, something that's just clicking for me today, so I'll take it, and we're really happy with it.
Great day for Brad Keselowski. He's third here right now, and he qualified third in Cup, and he has to go do some media stuff for the Cup side. Marty?
So he turns a total of 10 laps, and they are happy campers getting ready for tomorrow, and we'll still wait and see if Kyle Busch comes out and turns a second lap, as he has turned only one. One guy who's turning a few is Stephen Wallace. We talked about the battle he's got for fifth in the points, and he's gone from 9th to 5th, as you see in that graphic, in the last 10 races.
Yeah, he's been really solid. They've got in some good finishes. They stayed out of trouble for the most part. Steven's done a really good job with this car and giving himself a chance to be up in the top 5 in the points, and I know that mean a lot to his car owner and dad at the end of the day.
And there you see the comparison head-to-head between the two of them. 7 top 10s compared to 11 for Justin Allgaier. And average finishes very close, and a 19-point separation.
Yeah, the one thing that Stephen Wallace is still chasing, though, is that first win. I talked to him today, and he really wants to get it. I mean, he's getting focused. He's getting better week in, week out. But that first win is what's eluding him so far.
Well, Justin Allgaier, too. I mean, he still wants to get that first Nationwide Series win. So there is the 12th car back in the garage area.
Yeah, but Stephen Wallace has put a little more time into the series than Justin Allgaier.
Yeah, that is very true.
Yeah, I think that both of them, as much as they want to win, have to look at the competition they're racing against and kind of put things in perspective with that. Sure, you want to go to victory lane because that's what you're here every week to do. But if you can just be really solid, those days are going to come.
Well, there's one Penske driver pulling back out onto the racetrack. We talked to a future Penske driver in Brad Keselowski. How about another Penske driver in Parker Kligerman? Kligerman won the ARCA race here yesterday, did it in style, came down to a late race caution, And in fact, let's take you back and show you how he did this. Well, this was a great showdown. And you can see these guys were going after each other. He has 8 total wins. Justin Laughlin is the points leader. Laughlin came home in second. You saw him brush the wall trying to catch him. Could not do it. And now he is 15 points behind. They head to Rockingham for the final race.
Yeah, I talked to Chris Carrier. He's one of the team leaders here at Penske with this group. And he told me, he said, that's been a great battle, those two racing in the ARCA series. And they've raced each other really clean and had a lot of good things to say about Justin Laughlin as well. So they're having a great battle over there.
So anybody that's going to be in the Rockingham area, that might be a race worth going to see.
I don't know if there's ever been a race at Rockingham that wasn't worth seeing. That's one of my favorite places.
15 points going down to the final race. Oh, ladies and gentlemen, third lap of practice. He's actually snuck a lap in there without us catching him, and he is the fastest at 32.10 seconds, and his last lap, 32.30 seconds. So Kyle Busch picking up right where he left off a few laps ago, and a final shakedown as we get ready for tomorrow. Back here at final practice as Brian Vickers rolls the $32 General Toyota back out onto the track. But just a few moments ago, Andy Petrie, you saw something that got your attention.
Yeah, we saw a camera on this car in the garage area. They had it up on jack stands for a minute making a change. Look at that right rear tire. And that right rear had a little bit of cord showing. See right here, right on that outer edge of that tire, you see cords. Now, they left that tire on the car, let it down, and backed out of the garage, went out here on the track. Now, I really feel like that they need to really consider this move, because if you go out there with this car with that right rear tire worn into the cords, it may not blow out, and it probably won't, but it can make that car, it can change the way the car's handling. And now, what do? If you go out there and the car's loose, do you adjust the car, or say it's the tire? So this is where you can kind of get into a little bit of trouble as a crew chief trying to make a decision when you go out there with a tire with cords.
Yeah, as a driver, I don't want to be out there on something that looks like that. I bet you they didn't show him. I'll guarantee you he has no idea of what they're dealing with there. But, you know, that's one of the things that they run into in this series with the limited number of tires they get for the entire weekend, having to make decisions like this.
Yeah, and I want to point out one thing. That part of the tire is very thick. It's very durable at that point. Now, so those cords are showing. It's not like it's going to blow out the next lap, but it does lose a ton of grip once that cord starts showing. Shannon, have you got more on the 32?
Yeah, guys, he will not be out there on the racetrack very long. Trent Owens, crew chief for Brian Vickers, said they're probably going to go out and run about 10 laps. I asked him if he had any concerns about the cord showing. He did not. He said there's about 51 laps on this car right now, and he said that Brian's been checking out the high side on this racetrack. Of course, we know that there are some grooves on the racetrack where you can move around, but he said that there haven't been a lot of people up there on the high side. It's pretty green up there, and he thinks that's what may have led to some of that cording, but they won't be out there long on this run. They're not going to put their driver in that much danger.
Well, I think 10 laps is too long on a tire like that. What do you think?
I was thinking 1 was about the max, but they obviously are exceeding that.
It's 15 miles, so we'll find out. We'll keep an eye on the 32. He is still second on the speed charts. Moving around our coverage, there's Jason Keller, the wily veteran, in 16th right now. 32.5, about 0.4 of a second off Kyle Busch's best time. 109 nationwide races on 1.5 miles. And here's another guy looking for a ride next year.
Yeah, and what a talented guy to be looking for a job this late in the season. Jason Keller is very talented. Has done a good job in this car, but you know, he needs to get a good ride. There should be something out there for him somewhere.
29th on the speed charts is the number 81 of Patrick Sheltra. And boy, what a nice paint scheme on this car.
Yeah, we won't have a hard time picking him out of the line of cars.
Had a chance to talk to him between practices. He runs a lot of ARCA, but had a horrendous crash back at the ARCA race at Daytona. Was out for just over a month. Came back and won his first race back at Salem. And he says, right now, we're trying to put this together. This is a family project. They're trying to get the sponsorship. They want to run more nationwide series races next year. And if not, well, then they'll continue ARCA and hopefully get noticed. He's running 7th in that championship right now.
Yeah, just watching him as a race driver, you see a lot of talent there. You just hope that, you know, they can put things together and get the money that they need to put the operation together and make a lot of races and get him some more experience in these cars.
Let's check in on the 33, and
yeah, they've got a port of power up there. That's a hydraulic cylinder. They can pump it up right there and move that rear bumper. You see them trying to still move that inner structure of that rear panel over. You see them measuring the X measurement there. They're trying to get it over to the right. How they doing on the repair down there, Jamie?
Well, you see Ernie Cope right there underneath the car checking it out. And just like you said earlier, Andy, it was just the rear bumper. It actually got moved over a little bit to the left, so they knocked it back. But Ernie told me it was indeed a gust of wind that caught Kevin Harvick and tossed him into the wall to get that damage. But he said no suspension damage. Car is good. As a matter of fact, they are finished for the day, and Kevin Harvick has gone back to the Cup side.
Well, let's go back and show you and exactly what happened. It happened very early in the practice, and the wind is swirling here. That's biggest problem.
Yeah, see, it looked like it moved him up out of the groove, Dale, and then he got up in that dirty area of the racetrack.
Yeah, you have to push it right there the whole time, but as soon as you get those right side tires outside of that area to the lighter gray part of the racetrack that hasn't been run on, and there's dust and dirt up there, then you are out of the groove and just no control. Kevin did a great job of not doing more damage than that to the car.
You want to know how windy it is? Brad Daugherty told me he was up on top of one of the haulers, almost got blown off.
Well, that's a whole lot. He gets a lot more wind than I do.
All right. Here we are at
down where I was.
Kyle Busch back in the garage area, and they may be done for the day. 10 laps, and boy, he has been very strong over the last 10 races on the 1.5-mile ovals. Take a look. He has 3 wins compared to 1 for Carl and none for Brad or Joey, and the average finish at 8.8 with 8 top 10s. Jamie?
Well, that 18 car's been pretty quick today, fastest in the first practice. And now what happened, they came out here, turned 1 lap. He was fastest on the board, but then Kyle got underneath the car himself and was checking it out because they had a problem with bottoming. So they came in and made a bunch of adjustments. That front end geometry, you see Kyle right there staying out of the way, and then he crawled all the way underneath the car. And then he just went out and did 9 laps. They feel pretty good, but they're still adjusting on it despite being fastest all day.
Look, are we in Kansas? Is that the Wicked Witch under the under the house?
Oh. Well, I'll tell you. Here,
my producer set me up for that.
Yeah, that was Andy Petrie, folks. His email address is. We'll see you when we come back. A lot of cars in the garage area here in final practices. The minutes are winding down, less than 20 here at Kansas Speedway. We'll have the race, of course, tomorrow, 3 p.m. Eastern. There is Greg Biffle's team. He's done everything but win here. He's finished second twice at Kansas. And Carl Edwards is still out on the track as he's trying to figure it out. Let's listen in.
The biggest difference is on the throttle. Rolling in, it's still about the same. But turns a lot more than it did the last run. Center off, especially 4 when it's more compressed. But I don't know if it's better than 2 runs ago. It's very similar. So somewhere around there is probably close, you know, between this and 2 runs ago.
Well, Carl won the truck race here in 04, but hasn't won any nationwide or cup races here. And you can see the guys are coming in. What do y'all make of that?
Well, I think that he was talking about the change that they made helped his, well, it freed his car up from the center out. Didn't really affect the entrance and rolling to the center. Now, if that's what he was looking for, then that's a good change. But it sounded like maybe he needed something in between what he had a couple of runs ago, that they were, it was a little too far with the direction that they went.
Well, the 18 has gone back out on the track. Kyle Busch, we earlier showed you getting underneath the car as he was complaining about the car bottoming out, so he wanted to go under and see exactly what was going on. And as we take a look at this, let's head to the Craftsman Tech Garage. And Tim Brewer, what was he looking for, do you think?
Tell you what, Marty, the trailing arm cross member, folks, that's right underneath the seat, right in this area right here. You see how low the trailing arm cross member sets? We'll come back out here and we're going to show you exactly what he's doing. He went to the toolbox, got him a paint marker. He gets underneath the car, marks this area really clear right here. Then you go out and run you a few laps, and when you come back, if that is bottomed out in that area right there, you simply take something, grind it away, or cut it away, because when you bottom the car out, when it hits the ground, the tires come off the ground, gives you less control. Very upsetting to one Kyle Busch.
Yeah, see, the reason that they do that is because they hit that a lot, and you want to know, is it bottoming out now or was that from earlier? So they take that paint marker, put it on there, and then make the run come right back and look at it. If the paint marker's still there, then they know it was bottomed out earlier, and it's fine now. But if it's gone, then they need to work on it.
And that can tell you as a driver maybe what's hitting, but as a driver, sometimes you want to get and see, you know, was it the bell housing? Was it the exhaust pipe? Is it, just as Tim's pointing out there, the cross member there for the trailing arms? Exactly what it is, and that gives you a better idea and a better feel for the next time it may be happening, exactly what you're encountering.
Well, so far, Kyle's still out on the track. He's turned 3 more laps now.
Yeah, no surprise he is the fastest.
Still running at 32.3 on the last lap. His best was 32.1. And I'm looking at everybody else's most recent laps. Only John West Townley, well, he was taped up and going for a mock qualifying run. And he just moved into the 4th quickest spot. But other than that, Kyle's times are still better than everybody that isn't taped up doing a mock qualifying run.
Yeah, and we will see these cars fall off, the tires fall off speed-wise. A little more than that tomorrow as we get, even though it's a later afternoon race, we're still going to be in a situation we're supposed to have more sunshine and more temperature, and these cars will be moving around on the track quite a bit more.
And John West Townley had a top 10 qualifying run last week at Dover, and he's looking at maybe another one this week. There's Scott Speed.
Scott Speed, of course, won the ARCA race here last year at Kansas. And if you were with us at Dover last week, you know he had a great weekend going with the nationwide car, but not so much so on the Cup side.
A little different this week. Had a pretty good run in his Cup car.
Yeah, qualified 10th. Be alongside of Jeff Gordon in row number 5. You can see his speeds here. He is 14th on the speed charts right now. So as he brings it on into the garage area, we'll take it on to a commercial break. But still, as the minutes wind down, we'll be back with more Final Practice. Well, back here at Kansas, Eric McClure's got a little problem with the left front. You can see he's got some damage, and he came on the radio. We were listening during the break, and he said it happened down the back straightaway.
And his left front tire's down also.
Let's go back and take a look and see what happened. Now, this is final practice, so it's the 66 of Stephen Wallace passing, and there you see
just caught the left front fender there going by.
Now, was it Eric coming down, setting for the corner, or either way? I mean,
yeah, just kind of, you know,
24 might have hit me in the right rear.
Was keeping his angle going into the corner, and the 24 knew that he had to.
Yeah. See, you just heard Steven's radio saying that he hit me in the right rear.
Always two sides.
There you go.
Depends on which seat you're in and which radio you have.
Yeah, if you look at that, I mean, it was Eric looked like he kind of got surprised a little bit. He was on his move to turn into the corner, and maybe couldn't quite react quick enough to avoid that contact.
So it looks like their final practice is over. We can tell you while this was going on, Greg Biffle and David Gilliland went 1-2, both of them in mock qualifying runs. Biffle at a 31.6, and now Mr. Wimmer, Scott goes to second quick at a 31.8. So everybody taping up that didn't do it earlier today in first practice. Jamie, let's check in on Clint Bowyer's situation.
Well, he's in the garage now. They've got it jacked up. They're trying some different springs and things. Remember, we talked about at the top of the show that he wrecked his primary car, the winner from Dover last week. Now, this car hadn't seen the track until the end of the first practice. They said they're just lacking speed. They're just not very fast. 25th on the board right now. But as you can imagine, you go from a car that's just excellent to a car that you just have to adjust on, guys.
Yeah, anytime you go to a backup car, it seems like you're just playing catch-up all the time. Even though they did get a few laps in the first practice, it seems like you're just playing catch-up, trying to get everything back up to speed.
And again, if you tuned in late, let's take you back. This was very early in the first practice, DJ.
Yeah, Clint had been out for about 4 or 5 laps. Said the car was a little bit on the free side, but thought he could keep running. Now, whether it was a gust of wind, it was extremely windy during that portion of the day, or just getting some laps on, and it just got away from him down in the middle of 1 and 2. See, he backed into the wall and had to go to the backup car.
In fact, our crack statistician, Jimmy Hicks, it was exactly 5 minutes, 30 seconds into the practice session. Not 5:31, 5:30. Way to go, Jimmy. And we saw the contact with the 24. That is the 66 of Stephen Wallace. And
I like a crew chief that'll get to work on that car. That's Trip Bruce, the crew chief. Hands on.
No such thing as not my job.
No such thing.
All right, we've got another angle. Let's take another look.
Yeah, let's see as they come down into turn 3 here. You can see Steven. He's just kind of holding. I mean, he's taking his normal arc into the corner, and as they got there,
yeah, I mean, there looked like
come down. So.
Enough blame to go around on that one. It was looked like it was kind of 50-50. Not a lot of damage though. It looked like Eric McClure got the worst of it with that fender.
Right, top dead center of the tire.
You can hear the conversation. Only one car has yet to practice, the 49 of Mark Green. 50 cars have taken times here in this final session. And as they continue work on the 66, let's remind you about what's going to be coming up. We've got happy hour for the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series, 6:30 Eastern tomorrow on ESPN2. And of course, the big race for the chase continues here at Kansas at 1 Eastern, Sunday on ABC. How about the Nationwide Series? Well, we'll be here at 3 o'clock Eastern, starting it off with NASCAR Countdown. And then for drag racing fans, boy, it is important. It's the O'Reilly Mid-South Nationals. As you look at the times, how about the fact that Robert Hight barely made the countdown. Now he's leading the points in funny car after winning back-to-back races. And then NASCAR Now, 10 a.m. Sunday morning, ESPN2. So there's your calendar for the weekend, and there's the 18 heading back out.
NASCAR Nationwide Series Final Practice is brought to you by Craftsman, the official tools of NASCAR.
5 minutes remaining in the final practice, and young Parker Kligerman is now second quick, and Scott Speed has taped up, and he did his mock run. He's now fastest at 171.5 miles an hour. And Parker, the 19-year-old, just had his 19th birthday, rolls in. How'd you like to be second quick?
This boy must be for real now. He's setting that ARCA world on fire over there, and now second quick in this practice.
Carl Edwards, 12th, now been bumped down to 13th as he's going out, trying to still search for that last-minute drop of speed.
And most of the cars you'll see run these last few minutes are taped up, just like you see Carl Edwards making a mock qualifying run, simulating everything that they'll do tomorrow when they make their qualifying run to see how the car handles and see if they need to make any changes before that.
I'd say that the track conditions, temperature-wise, probably won't be a lot different because it's in the morning. It's supposed to be pretty cool here overnight, so that might be pretty close to what they're going to see and encounter whenever they go out for qualifying tomorrow.
Carl's car looks really good down the bottom of the racetrack. Nice run up off the corner, right up next to the wall. Right on that white line. That's what you want your car to do around here.
Yeah, and these qualifying attempts are going to be close to wide open around this racetrack with these guys.
They go down below that apron just to try to get a little more speed, and he bumps up to 4th. That's his fastest lap of the session.
So Carl moves up to number 4. Justin Allgaier also now 17th, but making his last run.
Okay, Dale, you got a teammate here. This Parker Kligerman is up there in second spot. First time ever in one of your team cars. Now, does that put a little pressure on you driving the main car here?
Yeah, I promise you it does. It makes you pay attention, and it makes you, even if they might not have even been planning on going out and making a mock qualifying effort, but they see that pretty much forces their hand. They have to.
Michael Annett had taped up a little bit earlier. At one point he was 3rd. To show you how it's leapfrogging, he's now been pushed down to number 10. Shannon?
And Michael Annett has been very happy with the responsiveness of this car. Said it's been very easy to turn. Now this Team Germain Racing has been very good on this racetrack here, especially the intermediate racetracks, Kansas being one of them. And Michael Annett credits the Truck Series as giving the Nationwide Series some help. So the team's working together for this race here at Kansas this weekend.
As you finished up, we're still looking at Michael Annett as he is trying to improve on his 10th position right now. Scott Speed, fastest so far after everybody has been taped up. Of course, he won the pole back at Las Vegas in his very first Nationwide Series start. And, oh, by the way, that just happened to be a 1.5 mile oval.
Michael Annett picks up a little bit.
Sure did, up to 6th spot now.
and obviously could use a sponsor. A lot of sponsors on that car. A lot of space available.
Yeah, car's still responding. He said he liked the way that the car was responding to changes and the way that it's turning in the center of the corner.
Just to follow up on Justin Allgaier, he did not improve. He is still 20th. So Parker Kligerman, who has to qualify on time, looks very solid right now. Here is Allgaier as we're on board. Take a look at the top 10 in speeds right now, and you can see, boy, I'll tell you, Parker at 19 looking very impressive.
You can see these guys put a lot of laps in this final practice session.
Five of the top 10 have never raced here in the Nationwide Series, so some fresh blood, so to speak.
Yeah, if that could happen in qualifying, make for an interesting start of the race, no doubt.
And Brian Scott just bumped his way up into the top 10 in 9th spot.
Well, as these guys wind down, this practice will end just as we're coming off air, and we've got a lot of racing coming your way as you take a look there at the 11, as Brian Scott has jumped up to the 8th position. First, we'll have the Nationwide Series at Kansas. That's at 3 Eastern on ESPN2 tomorrow, and then Sunday at 1 Eastern, third race in the chase for the Sprint Cup, and that will be at 1 Eastern on ABC. So for our entire ESPN crew, thanks so much for joining us. I'm Marty Reed. We'll send you now to get ready for tomorrow with NASCAR Now. Till we meet again, we'll send it now to Bristol as we say farewell at the end of practice.